Good morning. We're on a road trip today. Right, so it's 8 o'clock. Places we are going today: Badger 5, DTA first, and what I'm going to affectionately call Renault Colville. On a bit of a parts mission. Winter rebuild starts here. What's going on then? Lots of people have asked what happened to the old engine, why did it die? Lots of fingers being pointed, lots of suggestions, lots of theories. You want to know the honest answer? Old age. Yeah, I know. So the bottom end was brand new in 2020, built by Badger 5, absolutely incredible bit of kit, loved it. You know when things add up and you don't always totally work out what you've done and what is what age? Sorry about that. Well, basically, I built the head myself in the garage in 2017. So, let's go way back. Let's go way, way back. Engine failure 2012. I had a standard AGU with rods in it. Picked up a second-hand small port engine that had a Supertech valve train in it. Now that was built originally by Gops. Everyone remember Gops, the original 8L legend, first one to get 600 brake on a road car? Yeah, that was built by Gops in 2014. I then bought them second-hand in 2016, ended up building them into a large port head in 2017 that went onto the Wasner engine. Bearing in mind at this time, track days only, there was no intention to race. And then it ran at 5 years out the best part of 500 brake and 8,000 RPM. And surprise, surprise, eventually one failed. Oh, yeah, I'm gutted, but if we're honest, it's down to fatigue, old age, and that's it really. That's it. There are guys out there racing that life their valve train. There are guys out there that take all the valves out once a year and throw them in the bin. That tells you. So people go, oh, it's inevitable, you're always going to have failures. Yeah, if you take a performance part, you run it at an extreme output for an extended period of time and expect it to last forever, guess what? It's going to break. So I was going to do a full teardown video, but you know what? There just isn't enough to show you really. The inside of the engine was mint, honestly, absolutely mint. Bar for the one exhaust valve that dropped, destroyed the valve seat and the head, sent bits of valve seat into all 4 cylinders and destroyed everything. As you've seen, it's also gone through the turbo. Turbo is 100% scrap. We've got some plans for that as well that you are going to find out about very soon. So we're on a bit of a road trip today. Just jumped in the car, it's just gone 8 o'clock. We're going to Badger 5. I'll show you the destroyed cylinder head if it's still out on the bench. Dropping off my clutch to Badger 5 because that's the last thing they need before all the parts can go off for balancing, which is exciting. New engine plans well underway. Might tell you a little bit more about that when we get there. See you soon. Today, rain. Good morning. Could I get a Mighty McMuffin meal, please? And a black coffee with that, please.
And a black coffee, yeah, anything good?
That's it, thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot. What's a Mighty McMuffin all about then? Find out in a sec. Cheers. Right, so, new engine plans. A lot of people have suggested a lot of different options. I'm going to run through them now and probably end it with some mild disappointment, but there's method to it. MQB, the famous 2-litre current engine from the awesome stuff like Fast Dave's layout. Amazing engine, but I don't think it's for us. They cost a fortune to buy. They're currently in that stage where everyone goes, oh, you can run 600 brake on standard internals. Do you remember there was a time where you could run 400 brake on a 1.8T on standard internals? It's age related. Everything is brand new at that point. Fast Dave blew one up at 470 through a rod out the block. I think it's fatigue and life related. Yeah, when they're brand new, you can throw 600 brake through it and do a few pulls in a road car, great. Race car, I don't think they're actually up to it unless you build it. Anything you get, you're going to be building it, rods, pistons, valve trains. Take into account the cost of manifolds, inlet and exhaust, making everything fit and work. You can't run the direct injection stuff anyway, so you go back to port, so that's out. Inline 5, again, if you bought a Dazzler engine, insane amounts of money, and again, we wouldn't use the direct port, we'd go back to port, so you'd get an 07K from something in America. Amazing engines, don't get me wrong, but again, the cost of all the manifolds and everything, and then you'd still have to build it. Whatever you're doing, you'd still have to build it for the kind of abuse we want to give it. So, that one's out. VR6, R30, very briefly considered, but you're buying 6 of everything. Not only the manifolds, you've got 6 pistons, 6 rods. God knows how many valves. What are they, 24 valves? I don't even know. Lots of valves. Very expensive to build. Plus it leans forward instead of back. Weight's all in the wrong place. Plus it would cock up the airflow, because if you look at a VR6 turbo inlet, it goes right to the slam panel. So it's not going to allow any air to come out behind the rad through our ducting. I just don't think it's for us. So what we've settled on is it's pretty much what we had before. We're going 83mm on a 20 valve block, JE pistons, 9.25 to 1. We are going to beef up the main bearings. We're going to put billet mains on it and line bore it all through. There's around 500 foot-pounds is kind of the danger zone for cracking the standard mains. And if I'm honest, I think that was the only thing holding back our previous engine from absolutely letting rip with all the torque, was the lack of billet mains. It was always on borrowed time there. So we're going billet mains, we're going full Supertech valve train again. I don't believe we need oversize. We're not at a point where I think the engine is limiting it. So we're going billet mains, we're going full brand new Supertech single groove valve train, a fresh AGU head, a fresh block, and otherwise, you know what, the actual tall engine is going to be essentially the same as it was before. But it was perfect, wasn't it? Aside from the valve dropping, which we know is an age and fatigue failure, the engine was perfect. What else out there will spool up and make 2 bar a boost by 3,000 revs on the track? Still be making 2 bar a boost at 8,500 revs if you ask it to. I couldn't ask for much more. The response, everything from it was fabulous. Now, the only place it potentially could have done with a tiny bit more, we reined in the boost at the very, very top end to keep shaft speed in check. Don't want to overspeed it, don't want to run it stupidly beyond its efficiency island. So we reined in, Mr. Gear. So we reined in the boost at the very top end, back down to 1.8 bar. We still made 576 brake. But the one place where I would suggest we could have had a tiny bit more is the very top end in the higher gears. Lower gears, you just can't put it down, there's just no real point. But higher gears, top end, we could definitely put a little bit more down, as is demonstrated by when we've had a few little drags with Jason over the year. And once we both got traction and we're moving, he still managed to walk away from us, so a little bit more juice would be nice. If we've got billet mains, we don't need to worry about turning it up. I don't think we need to rev it quite as high as we did. Keeping the revs down may well prolong its life and help things. So the only real change to performance is going to be the turbo. But what would you go for? What would you go for? So I was umming and ahhing. It's like G25 660, G30 770. G30 660 to me doesn't hold a huge appeal. Yeah, it doesn't hold a great deal of appeal. Quite a bit laggier. We've overlaid Jermaine and Asher's plots. They've both done 650 odd brake on a G30 770. We've overlaid the plots with a G25, and it's less of everything below about 6,000 revs. Less of everything. Don't really want to lose that response for that tiny bit at the top and make it overall slower, lower down for what we're doing. So there aren't really any other options, were there? And then, out of the blue, pure fluke, Dan at Litco got in touch. Dan is someone we've worked with an awful lot before in the past, when Dan was the main man behind Beach Buggy. Dan rebuilt our first KO4 023 hybrid. Dan then approached me about testing the very, very first KO4 064 on a 1.8T, which we did, and then later we went to the anti-surge core on that as well, and they were phenomenal. So we've got a really good history of working with Dan. And pure fluke, Dan fired me a message out of the blue: "Afternoon, Nick. I'm developing some G-Series hybrids to fall between a G25 and a G30. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? So we've got a lighter yet bigger turbine, and the theory from the testing Dan's done on other units suggests that it will spool up as well, if not better, than a G25, but ultimately flow more. And on the compressor side, we're going slightly different there again. I think we're going taller rather than bigger, so inertia and stuff's not going to be too much different there, but by going taller, you've got more blade area for a given wheel size. So we're upping the turbine, we're upping the compressor. Dan has got a lot of experience of hybrids and improving things from all his work over the years on the TFSI and the MQB stuff. I think it sounds like a bit of a winner. I think we could be onto a turbo that's comfortably going to do 600, 620 brake and spool as well, if not better, than the G25. So I'll do a full video on that when we collect the turbo from Dan. But if you're umming and ahhing G25, G30, what do you want your next build to be? I'd sit tight if I were you. Let me test this. And I think Litco might be the way to go. So that's the engine side of what's happening next year, dealt with. Largely the same. Billet mains make it a little bit tougher. Fancy Litco turbo, which is going to push another 10-15% more power than what we're running. Very excited about that. Where else can we go? Now, if you watch any other onboards from Thunders, almost every single car is either running a dog box or a sequential. Honest answer, sequential is out of the question. I'm not a successful Russian businessman like Ilya. I cannot stretch to a Cortec caps, let's call it caps, that's what they used to be, to a full sequential. However, step in once again Mr. Alan Brown of Parts Garage fame. Alan just happened, as you do, just happened to have an SQS 6-speed dog set spare sat on the shelf for his rally car build. He's already got one, he's got a spare one as well. So being the legend that he is, you all know Parts Garage and how great they've been to us over this year. Alan has sent me the SQS gear set, which hopefully I'm going to have built into a gearbox, so we'll be going dog gears. Now the ratios are slightly different on this, and I need a couple of things, and I need you guys to help me. The ratios are for a rally car Alan was building, so the ratios are insanely short. So I need a Fabia VRS box with the two final drives. I think they were 2.9 and 2.7. I'm going to pop up the ratio codes up here somewhere. If you've got one of these kicking around that you want to sell me, please let me know. Now the next problem I have is who to build it. So obviously we have a very, very strong link with Martin at Gas and Gears. Absolute legend. Martin's been helping me now for 7 or 8 years, and I wouldn't really want to go anywhere else for a gearbox build. But a lot of people probably know Martin's off work at the moment with a bit of an injury, and he is unable to build this box for us this winter. Who else is out there that can build up an O2M for me? So I'd have a go at it myself if it was an O2J, but with an O2M you've got all the compression of the casing and the taper bearings. It's just not really something I want to get involved in. If there's anyone else out there, reasonable cost-wise, that is able to build an O2M 6-speed box for me with an SQS dog gear set, shim up the diff and everything, let me know. Let me know, because I am going to need help getting that done, unfortunately. All the best to Mark. Really, really hope things get better for you soon, mate. But right now, yeah, I need a box built. So once that's built, the ratios are a little bit shorter. They're about 10% shorter than what we're running now. So the car is currently geared to do 182 miles an hour at the rev limiter in 6th gear. And we don't need that. There are times when I've definitely needed to cars be a bit shorter geared, kind of like I've been level with someone, we've gone for a gear change, and then I've dropped back. So with the Fabia VRS final drive I want, dog gear set that Alan has sent over gives us a near identical third and fourth, which is perfect, but then fifth and sixth are much closer, and first and second are much taller. So third and fourth, where we are a lot of the time, are exactly the same, but we can change quicker, being a dog box. And then all the gears either side just brings it all closer together, so the car is in the window more of the time. Ultimate top speed without gearing is going to be 159 miles an hour. Now the fastest we've gone this year is Thruxton. We did 153. Now I can't see many, if any, circuits where we're ever going to reach more than 159 in the UK. If we ever went out to the ring, it wouldn't be to race, it would be for fun. And if I had to lift at 159, so be it. Not that fussed. So yeah. So that's the gearbox side of it. Engine, more reliable, all brand new, more power. Gearbox, shorter, better ratios, quicker to change gear. Need someone to help build it. So lastly today, we're heading up to what I affectionately call Renault Colville. If you're into your 1.8T stuff, you probably know Roger Hewitt. Roger's taken receipt of the goods from parts garage that had come over in a van and happened to be going past him. So I'm on my way up there to collect those bits. Right, future Prawn here. So sat on the sofa, Thursday night, editing this. I think I'm up to something like 17 minutes of me chatting and we haven't even reached Badger 5 yet. I'm going to wrap this one up. Too long. Tune in next week, find out a bit of a teardown on the engine, see what happens when we headed up to DTA to see Alex, and finally a bit of a stop at Renault Colville. I've already told you a couple of things we're going to be picking up, but yeah, it's all coming together pretty nicely. Have fun, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for sticking with us if you've watched this far. See you next week. Take care, guys.